First and foremost, what motivated you to want to take a dual role?
Oh, wow. I was always somebody that was really into the scouting and drafting, and from my first day on the job in the WNBA was the draft when I joined the Charlotte Sting, and so I love watching players and projecting, and I love the transacting and just the formulation of a roster, and so at the time that I did it, it was a bit of a different job in that off seasons were not what they are today. There's a lot more happening in our league in the off season than in the beginning, and so the dual role was a pretty natural progression.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What leadership roles have you found from the different perspectives? Did they kind of touch on a little bit, but how did those differ and then kind of coincide too?
Yeah, from coach to being coach, and then also formulating a roster. It's interesting because I think it could be a challenge. If the GM upset the player that the coach now has to coach, and if it's the same person, what those dynamics could be. And I've always found that communication, when you communicate effectively, I think it's actually in some ways the synergy between the position of a general manager and a coach. It's when it's the same person, then you're on the same page, and so you can execute. I think more simply what the goals are for players, and so I have found that that's not been much of a challenge, and I think that the two different hats. I think it's makes the job more interesting as well.
I mean, you touched on it a little bit, knowing your players like basically from the start. So what do you look for when it comes to developing players?
Yeah, I think in anything, no matter the profession, I think a passion for what you're doing, a work ethic, and that desire to get better. I think humility is really important as well. You want people that don't think they know everything and want to be coached and want to reach their greatest heights. I think that's the sort of the backdrop of, and then you can get into actual skills and things like that. But I think the things that are intangibles that become really important, that's what we really dive into.
That's awesome. This is a question I was really interested to ask you because I think it kind of translates into life. What are some of the qualities and aspects that you look for in a player that's going to that next level, who has that type of success within them?
Yeah, I think like you said, that passion, that regardless of profession, that sort of oozes. I always say, like, you can see somebody in their job and you can tell whether they like their job. And the same thing when they're playing. They are passionate about the game. Can't wait to get in the gym, to work on something, to improve, to watch video, to be great teammates. I think that stuff oozes off of people, and that's something we take a really strong look at.
That's awesome, and you've done so much with your career. Do you have a greatest accomplishment?
Greatest accomplishment, certainly I would point to wins and championships. But because we're sitting here today with a Hall of Fame induction looming, I would probably have to say that's got to be the biggest accomplishment.
What was your first reaction?
Pretty surreal. Honestly, I didn't know. I wasn't thinking about it, and I got a call from one of the board members, and it was somebody that, not that I talked to routinely, but it wasn't necessarily out of the ordinary. And I owed her a phone call back, and I was, you think, I wonder what they wanted, and was the furthest thing from my mind. So I remember thinking maybe when she brought up the hall that it was going to be for one of our players, and so I was pretty surprised. Yeah.
What do you hope, legacy-wise, to leave in the game as a coach and all the many hats that you wear?
The legacy. I hope what players will feel is, as much as we ask them to pour into the game, that we did that as their leaders. That I was able to give them more than just coaching them, caring about them as people, and again just goals that they had in life, that we worked our tails off to try to help them succeed. So hopefully the legacy is that we poured into our players.
Absolutely. And how have you seen basketball shape you personally?
Personally, they say ball is life. I would say anybody that's around me probably would say that's a thing. My family's very important to me. Basketball is a big part of all of us. So yeah, pretty simply, ball is life.
That is awesome. Now, outside of basketball, what's outside of ball
Outside
is life?
of basketball,
Yeah.
home improvement. I'm a big. It's a bit of therapy as well. I like to do projects, remodel kitchens, or some things I've done for people. Put on a deck at my mom's house, or smaller projects. I used to be a little bit more working in the yard and landscaping and things like that, but I do less of that. But there's other things that I consider therapy. I don't have a lot of other talents. I can't sing, can't dance, those kind of things. But I think, I think for me it's centered around sports somewhere.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I mean, the WNBA, women's basketball, girls basketball, continues to expand at just this awesome rate. What would be your word of advice for even girls getting into the game and hoping to reach that WNBA status?
Yeah, it's the same thing I tell my 11-year-old who has aspirations in sports, that whatever it is that you want to be great at, it doesn't just happen. I mean, you might be naturally gifted in some things, but to reach the pinnacle and to be among the best, there has to be a daily, call them daily vitamins. There's work that has to be done. It doesn't happen because people just sort of showed up. If there was an easier path, everybody would be doing it. I tell my son this. It doesn't take a whole lot to be above average, because most people are mediocre and below. And you do a little bit more, you can be above average. You do a lot more, you can be great. And so that mindset, whatever it is you want to be great at, that's what it's going to take.
Absolutely. And I feel like being great, having that mindset, and you said it doesn't take a lot to be above average. Sometimes it comes with a lot of boundaries.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of work to be done in your own life. What advice would you give to keep going even through those moments? Because I'm sure, you've had times that a lot on your plate, and to be able to push through that and know it's all going to be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, being able to compartmentalize or prioritize those things, that you have a lot going on in your life. But to prioritize, it's like when you're paying your bills, right? You've got to pay your bills, and you have some big bills that you're working every day to make sure you can meet the challenges there. It's the same thing. I don't think that you can do a lot of things great, and so you're going to have to maybe pick and prioritize and spend the time where you want to be great.
Absolutely. When did you know that you had a knack for what you do now? Like that natural ability? My
story is about Kathy Rush basketball camps, who was actually a Hall of Famer. She coached the Immaculata College, the Mighty Macs. You might be familiar with that. She had basketball camps, and so I was going to the basketball camp to play the camp counselor games. I was in between my junior and senior year, and I had a moment that I still remember to this day, more than 30 years ago, that I was in a huddle with the team and directing them to do whatever it is we were going to do. The feeling of them returning to the court and executing, and the joy and I'll never forget it. And to me, that was like the spark for me, because I wasn't thinking about it before. I had some role models. My high school coach was a tremendous role model. I wasn't thinking about it as a profession. And it was those types of moments. I was also a computer science major. I did an internship in that. It was all the same summer. It all happened. And that's when I realized to do this for a living, what I wanted to do as a programmer in computer science versus this, that moment that I had on the court was the one that told me that maybe I should pursue a profession in coaching.